Tennis is one of the most popular sports in the world. Grand Slams pull in millions of viewers. Stars like Alcaraz, Djokovic and Serena are global icons. And yet, the tennis video games, they kind of suck. I mean, they don't even compare to the dominance of FIFA. But why is that? And how can the commonly considered fourth biggest sport in the world have games this mediocre? So today I'm going to be breaking down why tennis games haven't hit, and I'm going to try and play some.
How do I pick this up?
And try and find out what could change for the genre to finally get good. First, let's get one thing straight. Tennis has some absolutely amazing games. For example, Wii Sport Tennis. Me and my mates, we used to sweat this game out. And we've got so good at it that if you don't hit power serve, consider the point lost. But we'll go into why this game worked so well. Virtual tennis was fun. I mean, it would be fun if I was actually good at it. To be honest, this was my first ever time on a VR, but I'll try to figure it out as we go along.
What?
But unlike football, basketball, or racing games, tennis has never had this true golden age. There's never been no tennis equivalent of FIFA's dominance, no NBA 2K, no Forza, F1, and it's funny to consider that the first ever video game ever made was a tennis game. But instead, the genre has been stuck in this weird cycle. But tennis games have never really found their identity, and I think that's where the problem starts. I think the biggest reason I believe tennis video games suck is because tennis is a hard game in real life. I mean, let alone simulate it in a tennis game. Tennis is widely considered to be one of the most challenging sports to learn and master because it's a blend of physical, technical, and mental demands. While the basic rules are simple, achieving a competent level of play takes significant time and dedication. And when we look back at games, in football you're controlling a team, in racing you're controlling a vehicle, and in tennis you're controlling a person performing fast, complex, real-time actions, footwork, timing, angle, spin, and power all at once. I'm sure if I went more into detail with the other sports it would also sound pretty bad, but you get my point. Replicating that in a way that's interesting but still realistic is insanely difficult, and most games either oversimplify the controls and make rallies feel robotic, or they go for realism, and the game feels ending up slow, clunky, and a bit unresponsive, to be honest.
Let's go.
See, the precision of real tennis doesn't really translate easily to a controller, and so many options of what to do with the ball, it just doesn't really work well. I mean, look at this game here, AO Tennis 2. This game has controls and sub-menu for the shot that require you to hold down a button for you to access. And, in my opinion, this doesn't really work well. And you could make it simpler, and the game decides for you what the best shot could be. But I mean, that takes away the game, and it takes it out of the player's hands and clashes with problem number one. And in my opinion, this is the whole reason why motion controller games work so well, like Wii Tennis and Tennis VR.
What do you mean?
Because instead of clicking a button, you can actually rotate your body, wrists, like real life. I mean, even Wii Tennis has a spin control. Holding at a different angle actually results in a different spin. But of course, there are still limits on what you can really do. I mean, trying to drop shot in VR tennis is, it's interesting. But overall, the gaming genre for tennis has never really figured out a consistent solution for this. Another massive issue is the animation quality. I mean, tennis is one of the most movement-heavy sports. Footwork matters, balance matters, timing matters. They move like they're on ice skates, or they just don't move at all. I mean, sometimes they hit a ball which is clearly double bounced, or they'll float, and then they speed up and hit an absolute winner down the line. And when you add in the strange hitboxes, the delayed swinging animations, and the ball physics that feel like you're hitting a balloon instead of a tennis ball, the immersion just kind of breaks instantly. And if the physics aren't fun, the game really isn't fun. Okay, tennis AI is notoriously horrible. Some of the opponents feel like they're reading your mind. I mean, they just know what input you're going to hit. The others act like they're half asleep. And I think there's rarely a balance between challenge and realism. And when playing against a high level of AI, you can tell that there isn't much of human patterns. AI will constantly pull off ridiculously hard shots in heavy pressure moments, as they don't think how we're thinking. If a ball's coming at you whilst you're on the run, you have 2 seconds to decide what you're going to do with it and execute it perfectly. So unless you're Carlos Alcaraz, you're probably not doing that to that standard. However, in the AI shoes, as soon as you've hit the ball, within milliseconds it has already calculated where it will be, what shot it needs to do, and what the best outcome will be. Not very fair, is it? So I think a good AI in tennis really needs to mimic the human patterns. Risk-taking, shot selection, fatigue. Instead, we get AI which is impossible to hit corner shots or get stuck and is still chasing the ball like it's magnetized. Can't even wrong for AI tennis players. Here's something I think people really overlook. In tennis games have terrible licensing. I mean, in FIFA, you get everyone, real players, real teams, real stadiums. In 2K, you get all the stars. But in tennis, you might get a couple decent players. I mean, in this AO tennis game, there's almost 30 good players. But you're still missing Federer and Djokovic and some of the others. The stadiums aren't even licensed. You kind of get a few of them, and that's it. I mean, many games end up using generic players because tennis licensing is split between different organisations. The ATP owns the licensing for a few tournaments, while the Grand Slams own their own licensing. This gets very hard to manage. And I think when you have these poor licensing, it kind of lacks the authenticity, and that kills the hype instantly. No one really wants to buy a game where half of the top 10 is missing. I mean, even in this virtual tennis game, I couldn't actually find a stadium which was real. I mean, the only sponsor it properly had was Wilson, and those are the only rackets you can get. And when you come to actually playing real tennis, I mean, there's a lot more on the table. I mean, tennis games also struggle with variety. Career modes are usually incredibly basic to play. You win points, you move rankings, and you just repeat. I mean, there's rarely a deep story or emotional progress. I think in this AO tennis game, I've won Wimbledon around 5 times now, and completed the career slam like 3 times, so, sorry Novak. And outside of career match, you kind of only get quick match, and maybe a tournament mode, rarely. And that's about it. I mean, playing online would be the only good reason you play the other modes nowadays. There's no real dramatic cutscenes, no interesting challenges. There's no innovations for a sport with global drama and massive personalities. Tennis games just feel surprisingly empty. And here's the harsh truth. Tennis games don't get big budgets. Football games make billions. Basketball games as well make millions. But tennis, not so much. I mean, most tennis titles are developed by smaller studios with limited resources. We end up with games that try their best but simply can't match the polish, animations, or production value of bigger sports titles. It's not entirely the developer's fault, and the market just isn't big enough to justify a massive investment. But after researching these categories, here's what I've come up with. We're going to go in with better animation system, motion capture for top players. You know how Forza has like that photo thing where they scan the cars in? Yeah, we need to do something like that. Smoother transition, responsive footwork, smarter physics, a more realistic ball, behavior, timing, windows that actually feel like tennis. Improved AI, opponents that actually play like humans and not like, psychic robots. I want to be able to feel like Federer and wrong foot my opponents. I want to grab all the players, all the tournaments, everything together in one game. Of course, you need a hefty investment, but And I think a massive thing in story modes would be to actually add a rivalry. Add a bot or a player which actually is trying to, compete against you. And almost add a proper doubles career mode where you can play with your mates. And I think that would really prop it up. I mean, it's like FIFA Pro Clubs. Training challenges, online leagues. Of course, there are online leagues, but the better ones, I mean, they're pretty boring. And of course, the hard ask, but that's a bigger investment. It's sad to say in the world that a AAA tennis game could finally put sports back on the gaming map, but the way AAA games are currently, I don't really think that's going to work. But anyway, those were my ideas, tell me if they're trash. But, tennis is an incredible sport. It's fast, intense, strategic, but tennis games just haven't captured that magic yet, and hopefully one day we'll get that tennis equivalent of FIFA or 2K. But until then, let me know what you guys think is the best tennis game, and of course, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.